Hello. So, today I wanted to kind of talk about one of my favorite movies ever, which is Sunset Boulevard, 1950. And honestly, I am very surprised that there has not been a remake of this film in our Lord's year 2025, because we live in the age of remakes, number one. But also, it is so relevant to today that I kind of wanted to talk about it. So, a quick little recap for those who are unaware. Sunset Boulevard is about a newspaper and script writer, Joe, as he stumbles into the life of a old, kind of has-been silent movie actress, Norma Desmond. She is glorious, she is glamorous, and she's also insane. She has this creepy servant, Max, and across the movie we find out that, like, she still believes in the delusion that she's a famous movie actress, which is kept up entirely by Max, who writes all, like, fake fan mail, and it's a bunch of stuff. And Norma Desmond is portrayed as this very, delusional, insane woman who wants to hang on to her fame in a way that really corrupts her mind. By the end of the movie, spoilers, she literally commits murder, and throughout the movie she's always threatening suicide whenever somebody is about to leave her, and she makes constant threats, and whenever somebody alludes to the fact that she isn't famous anymore, such as in the scene where she's called back to Paramount Studios and she thinks that, she's going to be picked up for a very big film, but they just want to use her car. She is very covered in this agoraphobic, really, and isolated view of the world, where she is still a popular movie actress, even with the age of talkies. So I think that this movie is extremely interesting in its portrayal of femininity in Hollywood, because back in the silent film era, that kind of glamorous silent beauty was very coveted, but when the talkie age came by, obviously you had to have more abilities, which presumably Norma could not keep up with. There is a huge plot point in the beginning where Joe is trying to finish and get a script about Salome picked up, and I think it's interesting that it's Salome specifically, because she is kind of like this image of the femme fatale, and of, like a woman who is very in charge of what she can and cannot do, and that uses the things she can do to her advantage to, manipulate her stepdad and get John the Baptist's head. And I think that contrasts Norma very strongly, because Norma is this person who lives in a world where she created. She rules this world because she does not step outside of it. And that is similar to Salome in the sense that, like, they both think that they're the best thing ever, and they're like, just like, these very potent female figures that portray this glamorous look, but Norma destabilizes that by showing her vulnerabilities in a very extreme manner that is threatening suicide all the time, and being very unstable and acting in a very histrionic manner. So why am I surprised that there has been no remake? Because tell me why we got The Substance, which is an amazing movie. Have not watched it. I'm scared of body horror, but I've read everything that I could about it, so I can know everything about it without actually having to watch it, because it gives me the creepy crawlies. But we got The Substance, which is also a movie about femininity in the Hollywood industry, and about, kind of that faded, almost like I feel like all of these media about Hollywood, such as BoJack Horseman, The Substance, and Sunset Boulevard, they all portray the kind of inevitability of fame and of success, of like, you're going to have your 15 minutes and that will be that. And both in The Substance and in Sunset Boulevard, we see these women trying to hang on to this fame that they had, because they cannot accept the fact that Hollywood is going to be Hollywood. There's going to be someone younger than them. And, you know, like, the industry moves on. And I think that it's really interesting because the characters' spirals are portrayed with such rage, but also with such melancholy, that I think that we are literally just living through Sunset Boulevard right now in Hollywood, and it shows how unprogressive the industry is, even though it pretends not to be. And it's really sad. If there was a Sunset Boulevard remake, she would be getting like Botox, and there would be elements of plastic surgery in there. And it's kind of crazy to see that, despite, you know, like, in the movie there's scenes where she's getting like all these beauty treatments because she thinks that she's getting a really big role, so, you know, she does all this stuff to, you know, get ready and da 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 da. If there was a remake, she would be getting plastic surgery. Like, she would be injecting the damn substance. And that's what, like, freaked me out when I watched it, because not only is it just like a great movie overall in terms of just like cinematography and performance, and it's amazing, but just like this portrayal of unstable femininity. When you conform to the femininity people want you to perform, be it, you know, a hot 1980s frick, I forgot the substance, videotape, you know, like Jane Fonda type character, or you are a silent movie star, you perform this image of femininity that is considered like the highest possible, this role model of femininity. But then, as soon as you step out, you become like everybody else. And these women, they cannot deal with that emotionally, because it is a lot of things to cope with, you know? Norma stays at home, she's just there all the time, she turns kind of agoraphobic, everybody's like, nobody calls her, Joe asks her to read her scripts and she just rewrites the whole thing, and it's terrible, and nobody has the heart to tell her, because something that is worse than discontent with somebody is indifference. And I feel like indifference is what hurts Norma the most. She does not care if she's insufferable. She does not stop to reflect about her own abilities. But the moment somebody just says, like, okay, Norma, and they turn around to leave, she flips out. And that's what's interesting. Because nowadays, we have these people that are, like, super problematic, right? That always seem to, like, their fame comes almost exclusively from their, like, from these different stuff that they get into. And in a way, they're hanging on to the only fame that they can get, because bad publicity is still publicity, right? And so it's kind of crazy watching it, and still, even though it's a black and white movie, even though it's from 1950, 70 years ago, it is still so relevant to this time and to America right now. And even though we have a revolution of, you know, like, indie cinema and all of that, it's still Hollywood, you know? It's still unstoppable. And that's what I really like about it. And so Norma is such a portrait of Hollywood typical and performative femininity and the falling from grace thereof, that it's it's a really interesting topic to think about and to, yeah, there's no thesis to this video. I just kind of wanted to share this idea of just like, we are not progressing forwards as much as we think we are. We are, obviously. I'm not gonna be like some political figures that say that some groups of people had it better before, because most people didn't. But I feel like, especially now with the rise of conservatism, we see all of these popular figures like Taylor Swift kind of regress into this very conservative ideal of femininity, just like Norma. But that the more performative something is, the more fickle it is also. The easiest it is to fall down from grace and to just completely slap against the pavement face first. Yeah, that's it. That's just an idea that I wanted to share. Okay, bye. Crazy.